So let's talk about the importance of bassinets and cots. This can be a very confusing topic to look at because there's honestly so much to choose from. And sometimes you might have been offered the heirloom bassinet or something that you thought was equally as romantic to have. But there are very practical things that you might not have really looked at. And one of those things is having a bassinet on wheels can help tremendously because you can move the baby around the house wherever you are, because that is what's really recommended, is that the baby is in the same room as you, whether that's daytime or nighttime. We also know that the advice is to keep your baby really close during the nighttime, and that might mean that a sidecar bassinet is actually the better solution. So really, I'm going to tell you to do your research, have a look around, and actually make sure that you look at the first issue being safety. We know that it's really important that you have a stable bassinet. And when I say this, I'm talking specifically about bassinets where the sides come down and you do have the sidecar situation. But there's some sidecar bassinets that, yes, the side can come down, but as soon as you put the bassinet in there, it actually tilts towards the side because this side is a bit heavy. So when you look at it in the shop, please make sure that you've got something that's really sturdy and that it won't end up with a tilt in it so that your baby will roll towards the edge. And so really what we're looking for as a sidecar bassinet is something that will come level with your mattress so that the baby is basically on the same level as what you are, but the baby has its own sleep surface. So if we look particularly at this sidecar bassinet, this looks like something that has been made. And that's absolutely great because if the dad can build something, that's even more fantastic. But there's a few important things that we need to look at. And what this example gives me is there's some real suffocation dangers here. First of all, we have bumpers all around this bassinet, which is not good to have because the baby can roll into that. And this mattress for the baby is not level with your mattress at the top here. So the baby can roll into the edge of that mattress and can therefore suffocate as well. When we're looking at the situation of a sidecar bassinet, I really do suggest that this is the better solution to have, particularly during the nighttime, because we have your baby right next to you, and yet the baby has its own sleep surface. And so therefore, if the baby gets used to sleeping on that, it's easier to then move the baby away from you if that's what you desire. Now, I do know that some people will desire to sleep with their baby in their bed and want to co-sleep, and that's absolutely fine. And I'll give you some solutions for that in a minute or two. But when we're talking about bassinets, really go into the shops, have a good look at them. Make sure that your option that you are choosing is really sturdy. For example, that it's got a good leg situation and that it can be raised and lowered so that you can end up with that baby on the exact same level as what your mattress is. It might not be exactly the same, but making sure that the baby remains safe wherever the baby is. Yes, there's lots of DIY opportunities online as well. And so if dad wants to have a crack, absolutely, that's no problem. But remember looking for those safety issues, making sure that this baby cannot roll against the adult mattress and therefore suffocate. Now, the other solution that you could use is something that is called a co-sleeper. In other words, this is something that you could put between the two of you so that when you have the baby there, you've got the baby still on its own sleep surface, but it's right between the two of you. And there's edges that are protecting the baby. That means that the baby can't roll into you or you can't roll onto the baby. What's really important, though, to look for is we really want to make sure that there is a mesh surround. In other words, this encourages good ventilation around the baby, and the baby is less likely to suffocate against something. But the one thing that I really need to encourage you not to do is to use this docker tot as your station where your baby is going to sleep during the night, particularly. Yes, it's cozy, but the problem is that we've got lots of suffocation hazard around this baby. Particularly if a baby is mobile, where they are pretty much from 4 to 6 months of age, they can roll themselves over. So I often see the docker tots in homes, but I'd like to be able to say to you that if you put your baby into something like this, you must be right next to the baby. So therefore, for example, you could use this to pop the baby into it, for example, while you're sitting watching a movie during the daytime, so that you're right next to your baby and that you're paying attention and making sure that your baby's been kept safe. But this is something that you actually don't have to purchase straight away. This baby is going to spend at least 4 to 6 months, if not longer, in a bassinet. So really, it gives you time to decide what you're looking for. And it really is important to think about the future. So for example, a cot like this, we've got the mattress on a much higher level because the baby can't yet stand up and pull himself up. But when the baby gets older and can stand up and pull up against the furniture, then we need to know we have to lower the mattress. And of course, once the baby is wanting to come out of a cot, sometimes cots can transfer into a toddler bed. And this means that you don't have to specifically go out and buy another bed. So when you're looking for a cot, please think functionality. And you know what? We are literally slaves of our hormones when we are pregnant. And I'm sure that you've realized this already. We get so caught up about the nursery. Everything has to look like it matches, and it's honestly beautiful. And we end up with this nesting syndrome. But nesting syndrome can override common sense. So just stand back a little bit. Try and think practically. What is it this baby's going to need? And as I said to you, we don't have to have a perfect nursery if you're going to end up putting this baby in your bedroom for a couple of months before you move. The baby really couldn't care what the nursery looks like. The baby won't see the pictures. The baby won't see what color the wall is. And yes, of course, we care. But sometimes we have to really make sure that we are thinking with common sense rather than thinking with our hormones and our emotions. And you know, I say this to you, but I made the exact same mistake myself with my second baby. You'd think that I really had learned something. And I had a Winnie the Pooh theme for her nursery, and I found this cot that just looked perfect. It was as if it was in a forest, and it was just the best cot, and I brought it home. But at the time, we were kind of renovating our home, so we ended up having to move things around a little bit. And so we could get the cot into our bedroom while we were moving things around a little bit. But come time to put it in the baby's room, and I couldn't actually get it in. We had to chop some of the legs off in order to get it into the room. So there again was me thinking with my emotional brain of how pretty I wanted things to look, rather than thinking about practicality. So I'm telling you this because I've made this mistake myself. So make sure that you think practically rather than thinking with your emotions. So I hope that has given you some food for thought with looking at bassinets and cots. Remember that I think the best solution is being able to have your baby really close during the nighttime in their own sleep surface, and during the daytime, a bassinet that can move around. If you can find one that can do all of those things together, then that's really the solution that you're looking for.